Hello, everybody. How's it all going today? So, when I was a teacher, there were like rules you had to follow, right? If a kid was doing bad or failing, you wanted to like email home to the parents, right? Or call home or send a letter home, whatever, right? So that if the case did fail, one, the parents knew and they couldn't come back and say, like, we didn't know. And two, like, if the parents were active, they could do something to fix it. Same thing, like if the kid had accommodations, right? Uh, you had to make sure that they had refocusing or extended time for tests, right? There were rules you had to follow. And then there was just general rules too as a teacher, taking attendance and all this stuff. All right. And if you didn't do those, sometimes the consequences were very little. Sometimes, there could be big consequences, especially in the case of kids like with special accommodations. And if they feel that the school district was not meeting those needs of the student, there could be lawsuits or whatever. Well, in the courtroom, it doesn't fly. You would think in the American justice system that there were rules that if anyone would follow those rules, it'd be them. No, especially in family courts and especially in things concerning divorce. One of those people that you have to deal with when going through any contentious divorce, or most divorces if you have kids, is the guardian ad litem, attorney for the kids, AFC, law guardian, whatever you want to call this person. Now, sometimes I guess you have, just like anything in life, you have people that are really good at their job, and then you have people that are horrendous at their job. The AFC, or attorney for the child, or childs in my case, in my divorce, was a complete joke. So what happens is you go into the courtroom, and if they see that this is going to, I guess, drag out a little bit, they want someone to represent the kids, the AFC. So usually one side will be like, oh, we want so-and-so. So in my case, it was Teresa Mari. And she was proposed by my ex, and my lawyers were like, yeah, okay, we've worked with her. She's fine. No problem. So I was like, I don't know. What do I know? I don't know this person the whole world. And clearly I have no say in the matter, so it doesn't really matter. But the judge was like, all right, cool. Teresa Mari it is. So after that, you have to set up an appointment to speak with this person. She meets with your kids. And then basically any changes within the case or whatever it might be, or if the kids have requests or whatever needs, she's supposed to propose them to everyone and kind of, she acts as like a, intermediate between the kids and the judge. So now these AFCs, or law guardians, have rules they need to follow. Hold on a second. They, in New York State, are the 2015 Standards for Attorneys Representing Children. That's what it is. These are set forth by the New York State Bar Association Committee on Children and the Law. So they have rules they need to follow. Pretty simple. So you would think that as being a hired person of the courts, they would follow these rules. No. No. This is another person with their hand out to get money. Oh my God, this person. She was amazing. So I meet her for the first time. I express my concerns. I would like to have my kids 50% of the time. I don't want to get, destroyed. I would like my kids to basically kind of have like a seamless life, and I don't want to get, destroyed with child support, being that my ex basically makes the same amount of money as me. She was like, fair enough. She's like, to kind of keep things going at the home, why don't we propose a nesting agreement? So a nesting agreement is basically where while the parent has time with the kids, the other parent's supposed to leave the house, and then vice versa. And that means like on your days that you don't have the kids, don't be there, sleep away. And I was like, all right, I can make this work. I'll find somewhere to sleep, whether it's at my parents, friends, whatever. It's not like it's a permanent residence. It's literally just a sleepover at someone's house. So I was like, that's a great idea. I said this to my attorney, and she's like, that's a good idea. We think that's a great idea. So people think this is a great idea. Well, that's That's as far as the idea went. She never once proposed it to the judge, never once proposed it to the opposing counsel or my ex, never. So already I'm like, here we go. She meets with my kids for the first time, 15 minutes apiece, to get their general well-being. And that's pretty much kind of like the last my kids ever saw of her. They never saw this person again. So some rules that we're supposed to follow. I gotta bring this up. Let me go look. The attorney is an attorney for the child, is not an arm of the court, providing reports, but an advocate for the child's client, right? And the attorney for the child must zealously advocate for the child's position. Those are some things right there. I'll tell you right now, this woman met with my kids for a total of 2.3 hours over the course of 3.5 years of litigation. So I have 2 kids. So you're looking at an hour apiece, a little over an hour apiece for my kids. So how can this woman understand what my kids want and represent them zealously in the court? No way. She never once. As a matter of fact, she ran for town councilwoman in my sister's hometown, and we would drive by her signs, and my kids had no clue who she was. Oh my God, you know who that is? They're like, no. And then her name and face on it. My kids didn't even know who she was. Occasionally I'd be like, oh, why don't you, have you talked to your attorney lately? They're like, who's that? I go, what do you mean? My daughter's like, oh, the woman with the blonde hair? I go, yeah, the woman with the blonde hair. My kids never even knew. So for 3.5 years, this woman had basically no contact with my kids. How is she going to represent my kids? Amazing. But she sent those invoices. Anytime she had a little conference with the opposing counsel. Oh, here's another rule. Establishing and maintaining a relationship with a child is foundation of representation. Therefore, irrespective of the child's age, the attorney should meet with the child prior to court hearings and when appraised of emergencies or significant events impacting the child. Additionally, if appropriate, the attorney should maintain telephone contact with the child. Whoa. So I was ejected from the house. Did she meet with my kids? No. I think that constitutes an emergency. The guy who's been there for my kids every single day is now no longer there. Did she meet with my kids? No. Did she have a telephone conversation with my kids? No. Nothing. Did she ever talk to my kids prior to court hearings? Nope. When Daddy was on supervised visits, did she ever meet and talk to the kids? Nope. Did nothing, but she sent those invoices every month. Not only that, this woman would come strutting in late every single time I had a court appearance. Every time I was there, this woman was a half hour to an hour late. And you know what that adds up to be? A lot of money. When your attorney's $400 to $600 an hour, it adds up. And I'm going to be honest with you, it sucks for my ex too, because she had to pay that as well. So this woman would come in with her designer bags, with her fancy clothes, strutting in a half hour to an hour late, costing me money. But she still sent that invoice every single month. It was sent. I would watch this woman in the courtroom as anything was going on regarding my case, sit behind her designer handbag and text on the phone. I saw it with my own eyes. No one cared. Judge didn't care. No one cared. She loved it. She was the shit. Also, what else we got? There was more rules. Let's see. Flip through. Traffic. Oh, yeah. This was a good one. Counsel of the child concerning the subject matter of the litigation, child's rights, the court system, the proceedings, the roles of all the participants. Right? She never did any of that with my kids. According to commentary in Section B1 of the 2015 standards for attorneys representing children, the attorney for the child is not an arm of the court and should not engage in ex parte communications with the court. Well, I don't know exactly how deep they put that, but I will tell you that on one date in October of October 3rd, 2020. The judge donated to one of her charities. December 15th, 2019. I have a picture of the judge and the attorney for the kids at a nice party, Christmas party, Lloyd Harbor. On another date, this was a good one. I come walking in the court. Everyone comes in, and she comes strutting in with her fancy bag and fancy high heels, and they start talking to the judge about Miss Mari, how was your trip to Cabo? And then the judge starts talking about her trip to Cabo. And then my attorney's ex starts talking about, guess what? Her trip to Cabo. So I look over to my attorney and I go, did you go to Cabo? She goes, no, I'm not part of the club. Then they're like, the three of these people, the judge, attorney for the kids, and my wife's ex said, oh, we should schedule a little get together. A little get together. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Wait a second. The woman who's supposed to be representing my children is going to get together with my ex's attorney and the judge. Come on now. I don't know. So, and it goes on. There was a lot. I mean, there's more. There's more rules she didn't follow. And so I was just like, enough's enough. I had it. So I wrote to the State of New York Grievance Committee for the 10th Judicial District and the Suffolk County Bar Association. Now, here's what's crazy. So I wrote this email, put all this stuff in it, and I sent it at like probably 6 o'clock in the morning. By 7 o'clock in the morning, they were like, we're going to forward this. I got an email back. We're going to forward this over to so-and-so. They forwarded it over to the proper person. Later that day, probably by 9 or 10 o'clock this morning, Miss Mari calls me and says, and is all upset that I called her out for her inactions, basically, her lack of doing anything. She was not happy. And I said, well, basically, if you did something, if you tried to, get us all to sit down and talk so we could all talk this out, I'd be happy. She wanted me to rescind everything I had wrote. It's amazing. She called me personally. Unfreaking believable. This woman, balls on this woman, trying to cover her ass. So I was just like, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. Ultimately, what happened, so now this is coming back from the Grievance Committee for the 10th Judicial District. The function of this committee is to investigate and prosecute acts of professional misconduct committed by attorneys. I thought that was misconduct, but I guess not. When a complaint is received, we review it to determine if it involves behavior which could constitute professional misconduct by the attorney. An attorney may be found guilty of professional misconduct if proven that an ethical rule or law was violated. All right, so they said, after careful review, it is determined that the issues you raise, specifically the alleged actions of a court-appointed attorney for the children taken within the ambit of a court proceeding, are more appropriate for resolution by a court of law through other available legal remedies in the first instance. We suggest you consult with your attorney as to the legal remedies available. The committee is not permitted to give you legal advice. Act as your attorney. So they couldn't do anything. I don't know. So I guess, they can do whatever they want to do. So anyway, this Miss Mari, I know she's had other things other grievances brought up against her. Because when the state emailed me that back, guess what also happened? They accidentally emailed me a grievance from another person towards Miss Mari, which they concluded the same exact thing. Who would have thought? So I know. I go on Google reviews, and she ain't got Google reviews, I'll tell you that. So this woman is here getting basically a check. These checks, invoices coming in for not doing anything. She doesn't do anything. Nothing. Definitely not in my case. Definitely in someone else's case, they've had a problem with her. And definitely according to the Google reviews. Now, maybe she's doing something for someone else. No. Oh, then one of my former students, I was talking to the parent, And he's like, he was asking me about, how everything was going, when I was teaching. And I was like, oh, the attorney for the kid's useless. He's like, who do you have? Teresa Mari. He goes, no way. He goes, I had Teresa Mari too. He goes, she did nothing. He actually did the same thing as I did. Even worse, he had recordings of her lying to his kids. Lying. So this woman gets her invoices filled. People send her checks, and she goes out and buys her fancy clothes, fancy high heels, comes strutting in the court, collecting nothing but money. Oh, this was another good one. There was a meeting between my attorney, the AFC, my ex's attorney, and both of us, me and my ex. So basically trying to hash out a settlement or a deal. So something was proposed. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think this is very good. So the AFC's like, listen, let me talk to you. So she pulls me aside and she goes, you have a mommy's judge. You're not going to do any better than this. This is what she's saying to me. This was early on in the divorce, maybe about 6 months in, 4 months in. And I was like, what? Mommy's judge? She goes, yeah, she typically, she errs on the side of the mother, yada, yada, yada. So I was like, whoa, shit. She's really telling me this. So I talked to my attorneys. My attorney's like, yeah, no, you have a mommy's judge. Everyone's telling me this. So I'm like, there's something wrong with this. Fast forward about a year. We're about to start, like, after I write these letters, I write a letter about the judge too. I'll go into that one. And at some point, and the judge comes back and says, Miss Mari, do you believe I could give a fair ruling if we go to trial? And she goes, Your Honor, absolutely. And I look over at her and I was like, you have to be kidding me. A year ago, you told me that I have a mommy's judge, or this judge errs on the side of women. And you just said to her she could give a fair verdict. What? Yeah. Okay. Holy Jesus. Let's go to Cabo together. Let's go schedule another get together. Holy Jesus. Lies, lies, lies. No rules, lots of lies. So when everything was done and we settled out, I told my kids, like, basically, like, divorce is over for the most part. And I was like, what'd you guys think? Whatever. I asked him a couple questions. Said, what's up? And he goes, I think there was something that was bothering him, or something that he thought, he should have went a certain way or whatever. And he's like, I'm like, so why didn't you ask? Well, say something to the AFC. He goes, why? He goes, no one ever listened to us. No one ever asked us what, what we really thought. The whole purpose of this woman is to basically represent my kid's interest. And he felt, my son, that no one ever listened to him. Nice. Real nice. This woman championing herself as this, amazing person. So to bring it full circle, just like teachers have rules that they should follow, and a lot of other professions in this, in a service type industry like that, I guess just document everything. Maybe at some point in time, you could use whatever you documented to do something against this person. I wrote 2 letters to the judicial courts about, or judicial grievance committee about this Miss Mari. Nothing ever happened each time. I mean, maybe there's something else I can do. I don't know. I'd like to find out. It's probably one of my homework things. So, just like teachers need to be held accountable in school districts, I believe that judges, attorney for the kids, or guardian ad litem, whatever you want to call them, should also be held accountable for their actions. So maybe enough people will write letters or do something that they're going to have a watchdog over these people, or make sure that they're doing the right thing, or make sure people that get into these positions are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know. It's just my thoughts. Look at these rules. I'm sure every state has them. I'll put a link to New York State's. I'll even put a link to my letters and the responses that I got. I'll put them all so everyone can see what I wrote in the description. And good luck. I mean, I don't know. I've seen these people, and like, outside of the courtroom talking. It sounds like some AFCs may know what they're doing. Mine did not, clearly. And I have no problem calling her out for it. Useless. It's useless as tits on a bowl, I believe the expression is. So, If anyone else has amazing stories with their AFC, please share in the comments about it. I'd love to hear it. If anyone's had a great AFC, please share in the comments. Maybe someone could redeem the role of AFC. I will tell you right now, mine was useless. So, that's it for today, people. See what happens next time. All right, everyone, have a great day. Take it easy. Bye.